Yo, hey everybody. Today I had a chance to, tinker with the new SRAM Eagle transmission thing or whatever. And so, I saw a video a couple weeks ago, that SRAM posted for bike shops, mechanics, things like that, to how to set these guys up and stuff. And so, just a little previous history. I've been a bike mechanic for 40 years, like professionally working in bike shops, things like that. So I'm not sponsored by any companies or anything. I'm just giving you my opinion of this whole thing. So anyway, I got to be the guinea pig to install. Had a couple of the SRAM tech guys, and I kind of wish I filmed a little bit of the stuff there, but I wish I would have filmed me. They had me be the guinea pig to install this new system, and kind of gave us an overview of the improved cassette, derailleur. Obviously the derailleur is probably the biggest change, but the cranks and the little bash plates for the chain rings, things like that, that's all nice and everything. But I'm just gonna kind of jump into the highlights, and I've got a little footage here and stuff to share. But it's easier to install than I thought. It's definitely different. It's kind of like when you first are gonna work with, this is for bike mechanic stuff. If you're a mountain biker, you probably have never installed a Shimano front derailleur, mechanical, new style. And if you're a mechanic that's been doing this for a little while, that those were kind of a pain, definitely different than anything previously. We kind of went through the spiel of the different things. And one thing just right off the bat, I've worked in the bike industry for a long time, like I say, and I've worked for manufacturers in different aspect, worked with engineers. And when you first see the way the transmission looks, deleting the hanger, if you can't just look at this and say like, okay, yeah, I can see how this is going to definitely be stronger, and it's like kind of once you start messing with it and you look at the old version, especially once the whole, the through axles kind of have, come to popularity. Hangers kind of really just seem silly to me now. Looking at this new setup, I kind of just this portion alone, I kind of expect to see gradually derailleur hangers being phased out. Especially anything that's going to be newer bikes that have disc brakes and are going to have a through axle. Honestly, there's really no reason to have a derailleur hanger. So I don't know. That's another story for another time. But anyway, putting this thing on, it's kind of, you go in and you find the bike and you find the size and how you got it set up and the chainring size and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you go through the app and it's pretty, seems pretty cool. That's nice and everything all. But, as a mechanic, I'm always kind of looking for the shortcut of, well, can we still just put this on, and overlap an inch and a half, 2 inches, and is that going to work? And honestly, I'm going to have to do a few of these before I can come to that conclusion. But otherwise, I'll just default to it's pretty simple to go to the app or the website or whatever. There's more ways to do this than just one. So anyway, the setup is pretty straightforward as far as it eliminates the whole need for the B knuckle adjustment, or honestly, in electronic shifting, the whole high-low limit set screw seems a little bit redundant, but it'll set up differently for different bikes. You got SRAM, where they had their little, if you're going to remove the wheel, you'd rotate the hanger back or the cage back, and then you stick the little pin in, and then whatever. It was just designed as a lock, and now it's kind of doubles as a setup, and you got an A and a B position depending on the bike and the gears and the whatever. And so so far all I've seen is just the B setup. So I don't, I haven't done zero of these basically. Just I've seen a couple bikes that it was to be set up for, and as time goes on, I'm sure we'll do a lot more of these. But so all those things, the small parts are replaceable. The way the cage and the pulleys, it's all, the pieces are a lot of people, from what I've heard, a lot of guys are complaining about, oh, it's so expensive, blah blah blah, electronic shifting, it's just all, the hype from these companies trying to get people to buy new stuff. It's all just blah, blah, it's all just a bunch of hype. My 1987 3x9 system works just as well, blah 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 blah. But I guess the part that really kind of blew me away is when I actually got to take it out and test ride it. And in a way, it reminded me of the first time I ever rode. Like, this is probably late 80s, pretty late 80s, when Shimano came out with they came out with index shifting first, but then they came out with Hyperglide on the mountain bikes. And I got this old Diamondback Axis team model bike, ordered it. I knew, and I had this news, it wasn't like Shimano, any of the reps came by and said, oh, this stuff is going to be a game changer. And so anyway, I just kind of read about it and thought, oh, this sounds really cool. I want to get this bike. And so I ordered it. I think it was a 1989 model, and it had the Hyperglide, the new Shimano Hyperglide, which was, you could shift it under a full load. And so when I got that, it blew me away. I was like, oh my God, because before then, people take that for granted now, that you couldn't really in the rear shift, like as you're midway climbing up a hill to a lower gear. You just couldn't do that. But once the Hyperglide came out, it allowed you to do that. Well, the Eagle Axis transmission thing, when I went out and rode it, it gave me that same sensation. It doesn't even feel like a derailleur. It feels like some fluid, internally geared. There's no you're torquing on it, you shift, it's like pop, and then it kind of catches into gear. This is just like, you don't get that. It's just like, it's super. It just, I don't know. It's just like, until all these doubters, until you ride it, I think you need to reform your opinion until you ride it. So that's just one thing, and I think that's all due to the, I think some of it is just due to the rigidity of, not having a hanger that's super flexy, that you can have this, part that's like splayed out, and so it's a game changer. That's all I can say. And then they've kind of redone the way the ramps are on the cassette, and it's got the flat top chain, and so that's another thing. I do have quite a bit of experience with the SRAM Axis Road, the Force and the Red, the flat top chains, and I had an Axis flat top chain on a bike. I had a pivot Volt that came with it, and I remember riding it, and I just loved the way the thing rode and shifted and everything else. I really just loved the bike, and I remember getting to a point where it was 3,000 or 4,000 miles in. I was just like, I'm killing this drivetrain. I know I need to replace this chain, and I wanted to switch out the chain ring to a little bit bigger size. And I was like, I have to replace the chain anyway. Hopefully I haven't smoked this cassette, because I've got a ton of miles on this thing. And it was crazy. I measured the chain, and I was like, this is with the new chain measuring tool that would accommodate the newer the flat top style Axis 12-speed Eagle chain for road and stuff, and it's barely worn out. And I was like, I don't know if I trust this thing. And I just held it up next to a new chain, and it was, I had to put a new chain on it anyway that was a little slightly longer, but it was barely worn out at all. And this is like 4,000 miles in of just not taking care of it, riding it in all kinds of conditions. So the new chains are basically that you're going to see on this Eagle transmission are the same thing. So you're going to get I think you're going to be surprised by the longevity, but of the chain itself. But you know, you can talk about this or that, or the magic wheel on the pulley, and you know, all the parts are replaceable. It's going to be cheaper. You know, the skid plate's $22. This and that and the other. But what blew me away was just the actual shift quality. And I would say until you ride one, don't. I had two co-workers. One of them was in, you know, the shop I'm at now, one of the owners, and then one of the just another mechanic co-worker. And we all went and rode this. You know, there's a couple of bikes, and we were just riding them. I'm like, oh my God, blown away. I come in and, you know, let one of the other guys take it. He comes in, and I'm just, you know, he's got the same look on you, just smiling like, oh my God, this is like, whoa, you know, blown away. And then another mechanic, you know, she comes in and she's just like smiling, just, oh my God, this is, I don't know. That's all I can say. Until you ride it, you don't really know. And I'm not sponsored by SRAM. I'm not a SRAM fanboy or anything else. I'm just saying this, I mean, I like it in terms of it's going to push Shimano or Campy or whoever to, you know, refigure out what they're doing. And, you know, it really improves the performance and just cycling components in general. So, yeah, that's my quick little, or not quick, but that's my little rant on my first impressions. And, you know, maybe as we get into further, I'll do some, you know, how, you know, I didn't really do much filming on how to install it as I installed it, because I feel like the SRAM video is going to be really, I would just watch that. I'll put a link to it in the description. But yeah, I was blown away. This is definitely a fork in the road in the bicycle industry of improvements. That's just a huge jump in technology and such. So anyway, hopefully you might have find this interesting, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time.